On the other hand, for most non-treaty organizations, ANSI serves as the United States representative. Again, examples of non-treaty organizations include ISO and IEC. Next, we'll talk a bit more about direct participation models. As I mentioned earlier, many direct participation standards developers are accredited by ANSI. ANSI is the responsible body for accrediting standards developing organizations and for approving standards as American national standards. National and international standards developing organizations voluntarily choose to receive ANSI accreditation or approval. The United States has no legal requirement for them to do so. Accreditation and approval do not guarantee U.S. market acceptance. Individual users of standards, that means companies or consumers, have complete freedom to choose which standards best fit their needs. ANSI's accreditation and approval process do not evaluate the technical merits of a standard, but only look at the process by which a standard is developed. We evaluate whether standards are developed in an open, transparent, consensus-based manner that allows due process if there are stakeholders that disagree, and that is also balanced. We believe that a standards committee should not be overwhelmed by one type of interest or another, but there must be a balance of interests. We believe that when these principles are met, the best possible solution will reach the market in the most efficient manner. Finally, consortia standards. Consortia are groups of like-minded participants who place a priority on developing standards quickly enough to meet market demands or to harmonize different specifications within an industry. Hundreds of consortia organizations operate in the global economy. Many have membership comprised of companies from around the globe. Consortia in general have a very narrow focus. Most consortia organizations may develop standards for a very specific set of products or even one specific product. However, some consortia are very broad and deliver a large number of standards. Companies often rely on consortia where technology changes very rapidly. As I discussed earlier with the direct participation and national participation model, there are mechanisms in place to ensure that everyone agrees and that everyone who's interested in participating can participate. Those processes, while we think are good, take time. For some technologies, by the time everyone has had a chance to comment, the technology could be obsolete. And so there is an important role for consortia and other types of standards in the global economy. And finally, we'll look at conformity assessment in the United States. It's important to remember that in the United States, conformity assessment activities are not centrally organized. Activities are a mix of regulatory activities or mandatory activities that are required by a government, as well as private sector activities, market activities that may be required through a business-to-business transaction or for marketing purposes. As with our standards system, approaches to conformity assessment vary distinctly among industry sectors. Again, there's a focus on end user choice, so there are no national policies for what kind of conformity assessment is better or what kind is worse, but rather individual end users, that could be U.S. regulatory bodies or companies, decide what works best and delivers the right amount of confidence for their industries. Finally, we'd like to talk about why voluntary standards and conformity assessment are important. Although voluntary standards and conformity assessment are not mandated by the U.S. government, they may or are often required to enter and compete in the United States market. For many companies, they must demonstrate that they meet voluntary standards through